When millions of pounds of snow break loose, surviving the initial slide relies on physics. Large objects rise to the top of moving debris. Keeping your backpack firmly strapped on protects your back and kidneys, while turning you into a larger object, significantly increasing your odds of staying near the surface. This cross-section of a buried victim illustrates the next immediate threat: your own breath. Exhaling directly into the snow creates an impermeable ice mask, trapping carbon dioxide. By burying your mouth in the crook of your arm, you create a vital air cavity to divert the toxic gas and buy yourself a few extra minutes. If you are completely buried, rescue teams sweep the debris field with Reco detectors. These handheld units broadcast a directional frequency that bounces off small passive chips sewn into modern winter gear, pinging your exact location under the snowpack. Surviving the snow is a rigid mechanical process. However, the true threat to survival begins only after the victim is pulled from the debris. First responders immediately initiate the ABCDE protocol to assess viability. They clear the airway, ensure breathing is stable, control the circulation, assess neurological disability, and manage the cold environment. Rescuers look for physical markers of a basal skull fracture, dark raccoon eyes bruising around the orbits, and clear fluid leaking from the ear canals. In the aftermath of such high-velocity trauma, victims frequently experience profound amnesia. When this occurs, medical protocol dictates relocating the patient to a remote island of safety, a cabin or shelter, before an incoming storm makes evacuation impossible. Inside that isolation, a triage situation becomes a ticking clock. A standard wilderness medical kit offers no defense against the severe neurological symptoms rapidly unfolding in the patient's brain. This chart maps confidence against avalanche knowledge. In the intuitive master phase, biases trigger heuristic traps, making experts ignore warnings. At altitude, erratic behavior indicates high-altitude cerebral edema. Brain tissue swells, compressing the frontal lobe, causing ataxia and personality shifts. But within the claustrophobia of a remote cabin, clinical symptoms and unexplainable psychological terrors often overlap. The victim's cognitive breakdown can manifest as a total dissolution of social filters, creating an unsettling, forced intimacy with their rescuer. For the rescuer, a strict reliance on empirical science becomes its own trap. By focusing solely on medical labels, the guide can become blinded to the true underlying nature of the victim's deterioration. Historically, some communities identified these symptoms as Wendigo psychosis. This culture-bound syndrome is characterized by a chaotic, insatiable impulse to surrender entirely to the violent forces of the wild. Author Algernon Blackwood interpreted this lore not as a literal monster, but as a cosmic oversoul, a sentient, predatory wilderness. This pantheistic philosophy views human civilization and individuality as an arrogant illusion. Nature systematically targets those who assert their independence, threatening them with utter demolition. From this perspective, the victim's amnesia is not a brain injury. It is the mountain methodically erasing a human identity, claiming a life to balance the scales for the one it spared. Physical survival requires a relentless descent. Pushing down from the high-altitude refuge into the valley floor means breaking through geographic layers until you reach the dark, jagged ruins of a bygone human presence. This is the Rico mining camp in Colorado. Founded in 1879 to strip the pioneer lode of its silver, the boomtown briefly thrived before collapsing into financial ruin and abandonment. These industrial scars act as physical proof of a mountain's curse. It aggressively punishes the human greed that attempts to extract its resources or defy its absolute isolation. Surviving this landscape requires abandoning all attempts to conquer it. You have to admit utter defeat and signal a surrender to the outside world. When cellular networks are dead, survival relies on a personal locator beacon, or PLB. It sends a GPS-based SOS alert directly to emergency responders, even in the most remote basins. While waiting, you execute the international distress signal. You flash a light or blow a whistle exactly 6 times in a single minute, hold for 60 seconds of silence, and repeat the pattern. During an aerial survey, helicopter crews look for the Y signal, standing upright with both arms raised straight up, to clearly indicate, yes, I need help. Technical rescue protocols and medical triage are tools for short-term survival. But living a long life in the high alpine requires maintaining a healthy, enduring terror of nature's soul.